Angry Joe met a girl in 2018, and then 2020 happened. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. First and foremost, this video is going to go on for as long as it's going to go on. I don't know how long for, but what I need to go through in depth. I need to make sure you have all the context in front of you, and I personally think it's really important. Secondly, this isn't the type of video that I normally do. I stick with pop culture and video games. And this is actually relating to a YouTuber and YouTube. I tend to stick away from this drama. However, this story has kind of got me riled up being a YouTuber. Because right now, folks, there is a disease in our society. A really terrible, possibly terminal disease. And it's called social media. And it's disgusting. And it's turning people into animals, into savages. Right in front of our very eyes. People are cancelling others left, right and centre. And at this current moment in time, it is out of control. Absolutely out of control. And the people who are so cut up about the accusations that they're making about others, so distraught, so hurt, instead of going to the authorities, they're choosing to go to social media and then have the court of opinion trial and sentence people immediately for cancellation. Kangaroo courts, and it's disgusting. And this social media disease has got to stop. And the people at the top, Jack fucking Dorsey and others, Robot Man, you have got to be responsible for what is happening on your platforms. With what we're going to discuss today, is it any wonder people on YouTube are so wary about getting into relationships with others? Because of this sort of business going on. So, this relates to, Angry Joe, who I don't personally have a dog in the fight. I don't know the guy personally. He mentioned us recently in a video when he was discussing the Sony Naughty Dog copyright strikes. And I was a little disappointed with him after. Grateful at the time, but disappointed when he did a follow-up video saying that he spoke to all his contacts at Naughty Dog and they know nothing about any of this business. When he could have actually come to the people who you mentioned in his first video, and we could have shown him proof after proof of Sony enacting the copyright claims, the copyright strikes. But other than that, but I don't have any ill will towards him whatsoever. So this comes up a couple of days ago now, June 20th. And somebody has made an accusation against him. And because of everything which has gone on recently with the cancel culture, I wanted to take my time to go through this. And I can quite happily say, after going through this, I 100% stand behind Angry Joe. Stand with Angry Joe. Because this here is clearly a work of fiction. And it's disgusting. And they even try at the end to caveat themselves. Nobody will believe me. So what I want you to do, I know I'm a little bit rattled, but I'm going to calm down in a second when we go through it, maybe. I just want you to look at what's being said by them and engage your logic. Because the logic here doesn't make any sense at all. So this person who goes by Queen of the Feeders, they say, my interaction with Angry Joe. I've been holding exactly who this was in for over 2 years now. But after seeing other women come forward about other streamers, I decided to come forward about the day/night of April 7th, 2018 at PAX East. Over 2 years ago. Fresh in their mind, I'm sure. PAX East was my first event, and I was able to go as a Twitch partner, and I was ecstatic. I have never been and was utterly overwhelmed. I was meeting so many cool streamers and people who watched my stream that I really felt so welcomed. I eventually went to the Twitch partner party on the night of April 6th, 2018, and brought along a friend I will call Alan. It felt nice having a friend I knew at a huge party like that, where we eventually met Markiplier. Probably not the time for a humble brag when you're trying to counsel somebody, but sure, get it in there. But then eventually I started reaching out and randomly introducing myself to streamers and YouTubers. I figured if they didn't want to talk to me, I'd know and leave them alone. As the night went on, I met a large group of YouTubers, some with millions of subs. I was drinking, but still very coherent during this time, she recalls, after 2 years. This is when I met Joe. He asked if I was a guest and I said I was a smaller partner, but I brought my friend. He said cool and asked to follow me, and I followed him back and was in awe because he was a larger YouTuber. Alan and I eventually went back to our Airbnb where we split after I turned down an after party from a friend because I had one too many Long Islands. So you were drunk, according to you. So I'm sure everything that happened was clear as crystal. I did, however, DM everyone I met, thanking them and saying I was glad to meet them. Joe ended up replying as seen below and inviting me to his panel. I said sure and was clearly oblivious to what the rest of his message meant, but wanted to believe he had no ill intentions. Now they provide this conversation here. They don't provide the DMs of anyone else that they contacted, by the way, just saying. Not insinuating, I have no ill intentions, I'm just saying. So she says, hey Joe, I'm so glad to have met you. I was Ashley, the crazy lady dressed to impress. I'll definitely try to stop by your panel tomorrow, and I hope we can meet up again. Maybe with less alcohol and more time to talk involved. So you contact Joe, you tell him who you are and how he could remember you because you dressed to impress, and that you would like to meet up again with him. Okay. Of course, Ashley, you were such a cutie in your 80s gear. I love that theming. Just got in myself, so headed to bed only just now. And Def, see you at the panel, which I haven't prepared for at all and will likely be a complete disaster, lol. But maybe you can cheer me up after if it sucks balls. What ill intention? I believe he had no intention. Yeah, there is no ill intention here. You contacted him. You made it very aware who you are. And then you yourself said, I'll try and stop by your panel. And I hope we can meet up again. So he's, from what I can gather by this, operating off the assumption that if his panel sucks and you do meet up, hopefully you can cheer him up. Please tell me where the ill intention is. I've got an idea. Is it in your fucking devious brain? Is it there? I think it's there. For sure, but I guarantee it won't be at all. Hey Ashley, you want to grab dinner with me and some people from YouTube after the panel? For sure. Panel starts at 5, right? I'll be heading over soon to snag a something. And then it cuts off there. We don't get to see the rest. So you ask him, it would be great if we can meet up again. Joe says, yeah. Joe invites you to dinner because you've shown interest that you want to meet up again. There is nothing in this conversation at all which is untoward. Even if he had an attraction to you and you didn't have an attraction to him, there is still nothing untoward about this whatsoever. The next day, after walking around, I got a message from him inviting me to dinner with people from YouTube. Again, I assumed nothing of it and thought it would be just be people I met the night before. Well, I mean, that's your own assumption, but whatever. So I agreed. I bring Alan with me and we sit through his panel, even though we both didn't watch the Angry Joe show. That's very passive-aggressive, isn't it? I sat through his panel. I don't watch him, but I sat through his panel. What, are you expecting kudos, praise, a gold star? You say you're trying to stop by to his panel. You say, I hope we can meet up. He invites you out for dinner. So it kind of makes sense why you would be there at the panel. After the Q&A, Alan and I stick around and I wanted to ask if Alan could come. Instead, and this, folks, is where we just seemingly go off into Fantasyland. But you engage your logic side of the brain and I'll tell you what mine says. Instead, Joe grabs me and says, we have to go, and took me away from Alan. I look back and just see Alan staring at what just happened as PAX East security is leading us backstage and through this corridor. So Joe kidnapped you. That's essentially what you're saying. You had no control. He grabbed you and kidnapped you. Alan didn't know what was going on. And Alan didn't know what was going on so much, he never contacted you. And you never contacted him that you mention in this, which we will get to. You had so little control over what was going on. So little could be said. You were grabbed and dragged. Joe looks at me and says, I can't believe you came, and just smiled. And I said, yeah, of course, you asked me to. You do have free will, but you asked him. You said, I hope we can meet up again. So that's not a direct, hey, let's meet up at a specific time and date. But you are insinuating that you would like to. Joe, maybe as the male, maybe because he assumes the male role, invites you. Because some of us still have gender norms and some of us still have, we still conform to the masculine feminine in terms of the relationship system. But you can say no if somebody invites you to somewhere. You said yes. Don't try and diminish your decision. He then begins to brag that he can only really travel this way around PAX East or he'll get swarmed. I just laugh and say, yeah, I guess that's what happens with people like you, whatever. Security eventually leads us to a back door and we end up outside. So, by your own admission, he's bragging, but you're going along with all of this. You're going along with everything that's happening so far. You're not saying, Joe, stop. I'm with my friend, Alan. If he can't come, then I can't come to this party. You're playing the role of victim. What a surprise. You're playing the role of a deer caught in the headlights, as if you don't have any decision-making capability whatsoever. And it's going to get worse, folks. Much, much worse. He then attempts to flag a cab down, but people recognise him and take pictures. He smiles and does it. He smiles and does it then we get in the cab. Whatever. He complains the entire time. Oh, what a horrible person Joe sounds like, hey? Oh, he brags about YouTube and getting around places because he's popular. He brags about and complains about the taxis. Oh, let's paint Joe as a bully. Let's paint Joe as the villain in my story. That's complete bollocks. He complains the entire time how it smells and how he usually only travels with Uber Black or with cars YouTube send him. The way that you remember a conversation from 2 years ago and the way that a conversation may happen. Remember, there's an old saying, folks. There's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. Because one person remembers it one way, biased to them. The other person remembers it another way, biased to them. And then there's actually what happened. Joe might have said, God, this taxi's a bit foisty, isn't it? Phew. I usually get an Uber Black or something. You know, they're a little bit cleaner than these, but, you know, whatever. Or sometimes YouTube send me cars. Could have happened like that. But you want to paint him as the villain because that's what's going to fit your story. Because your story is ludicrous and will get very ludicrous later on. I just nod my head again because I have no decision-making processes or I can't respond, I can't challenge, I can't do anything. I'm just a small streamer who barely had money to come in the first place. Then why did you? Did you expect that Joe was going to pay for things? Or YouTube was going to pay for things? Did you expect that? If you were unable to, if you only had limited funds to do so, then it might have not been as prudent to do so. You saw an opportunity and you took the opportunity. Don't try and downplay it. Regardless of what you wanted out of it or didn't want out of it, you saw the opportunity. Whether it be to network or to see where this ride with Joe went. But you took it. I'm just a small streamer who barely had money to come in the first place, and I felt like I was about to blow my entire food budget on one meal to eat with these YouTubers. Joe begins to freak out, and I ask him what was wrong. Did the taxi driver say anything if he was freaking out? You don't mention anything about it. What's your version of freaking out? So many things open for interpretation. And these are the small details, folks. These aren't the whopping great big holes which are going to come. These are just the little details that I start to question as well. I asked him what was wrong. He started to say he lost his phone and was afraid a fan had it and couldn't believe it. He asked for my phone and called his phone. It ended up being in his pocket. He laughed and said, "Oh, geez," then just plucked away at his phone. I didn't think anything of it, but realized he now had my number. I don't know about you. I don't know how this went down, but that has happened to me before with friends. I'm not talking female friends necessarily, when I'm just out with male friends as well. Oh, shit, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Dude, can you call my phone? It's a thing that happens. It doesn't seem out of place. You seem to be painting Joe as a plotter and a schemer. But let's get to some incredible holes now, shall we? Instead of a restaurant, we end up in front of his hotel. He says it's fine, and it would only be a moment. So I get out and walk with him inside. We walk to the hallway, and I stay there, but little Joe and Joe himself invites me inside. When she says little Joe, does she mean other Joe, or is there a little Joe? I only know Joe and other Joe, but that's semantics maybe. Invites me inside to sit down so I'm not standing in a hallway myself. So I do. Okay, so somebody's being polite. Instead of standing in a hallway, come in and sit down. It'll be more comfortable for you. Again, I'm assuming he doesn't have bad intentions and didn't want to be that person that says, hey, are you trying to sleep with me? I have a boyfriend, you know. It's really funny that you should say this here because of what you're going to say next. So it's as if you're trying to give yourself some sort of protection, but you don't, because this is something you either should have said or taken action with. When he was just being nice. So I just stay quiet and say, sure. I'm just standing around, and he ends up taking a shower and asking me to join him. So he is in the shower, in the bathroom, you're outside, he's screaming through the closed door, do you want to join me in the shower? Because, you know, when you've got a shower on, it's making a lot of noise. He won't be able to hear you properly, so he's got to give it some lungs and come out the shower, or he's going to go into the shower and say it before he goes in. Either way, regardless, let's just say Joe did that. Let's just say you're in the room, stood there, and Joe's in the shower, and Joe says, hey, do you want to join me? He's trying it on. He's seeing if you're interested in him. You can say no, or you can say, I'm sorry, are you trying to sleep with me? I have a boyfriend, you know. You know, the very sentence you said a couple of moments ago. Oopsies. Oopsies! I laugh and say, you're funny. That's funny because that doesn't sound like, hey, are you trying to sleep with me? I have a boyfriend, you know. That sounds like, you're funny. And he replied along the lines of saying he knew and the offer was on the table if I decided he wasn't joking. Well, he said, hey, do you want to come join me? He probably knows that you'd have to apply makeup. You might not have makeup, towel, change your clothes, except weird stuff like that. So even if you said no, you're sticking around. Haha, you're funny. But you're sticking around. So he may think, okay, she's not jumping in the shower here, but she's stuck around. Maybe she's interested. And I'm working off the assumption he actually said it. Whether he did or not, we don't know. But judging by that farce, where you give yourself a disclaimer here, and then when you are, according to you, hit upon, don't walk out. You don't leave at any point here. You don't get out your phone, contact your boyfriend, contact Alan, remember, who you got torn away from, and he was looking back at you through the corridor as you're getting dragged away, not knowing what was going on. Who still hasn't texted you to see if you're okay, by the looks of it, and you're not contacting him to say that you're okay. Do you see when things aren't starting to fucking add up? And I'm getting mad for Joe. Because these fucking type of allegations can destroy people's lives. And Joe's worked very fucking hard. I followed the guy for years. This guy's worked very fucking hard. Puts up a lot of effort, puts out good stuff. Don't always agree. But to have wishy-washy shite like this put out there that could end him, that could have sponsors being pulled from him because the allegation has been made and that's all it takes. It just takes the fucking idea to get into people's heads. And this here comes across as trash. Just this piece here. Never mind going on. He invited you in. You didn't tell him you had a boyfriend. You're all alone in the room because he's in the fucking shower. You never contact your boyfriend. You never contact Alan. You never leave. You stay. But somehow, it's all, I hope he didn't have ill intentions, even though he's inviting me into the shower, according to you. Do you think that makes a lick of sense? My logical brain says it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Fuck cancel culture. Fuck it so much. Fuck people like this. Fuck social media and fuck Jack Dorsey. Jesus Christ. I stay standing and keep pacing, not calling anyone, texting anyone, or leaving the room. He eventually comes out dressed and invited me to sit next to him, and I'm like, okay. So there's no part here at all that you're giving any signal to Joe that you're uncomfortable with anything at all. So I sit at the foot of the bed and he keeps asking me if I'm nervous and I say yes. I thought we were going to leave and this is a bit weird. He says, there's nothing weird. I'm just waiting until they get a table. Okay, so he's answered your question. He's been out at PAX East. He's probably sweaty. He's come back home, showered, change of clothes, and they're waiting for the table at the restaurant to the meal that he's invited you to. Everything that you're saying coming out of Joe's lips so far is logical. Your interpretation is not coming across as logical at all. It's come around at farcical. He starts asking me about how I started streaming and just small talk. Then he starts showing me pictures of his car and other things. But he does it so in a way where I have to get close enough that I'm pretty much next to him on the bed. Well, that's how you normally show stuff. It's like, here's my phone. Here you go, showing stuff. So yes, you have to pretty much be, even normally and naturally, next to the person. He then said, say cheese, and snapped a picture of me next to him on the bed, and I laughed nervously, but asked if we could go. He said, yep. So he takes a picture of the pair of you together. You say, Joe, can we go now? And he says, yes. He's not stopping anything, preventing anything, forcing anything whatsoever. Got up, called other Joe or little Joe to tell him we were leaving, and we went downstairs and got a cab. I'm in this cab and he's telling me how I'll like this place. At this point, I don't care how much it costs or where it is. I'm just glad someone else will be there. You had the opportunity to leave the apartment plenty of times. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. Why? You had your phone. He was in the shower. You could have texted your boyfriend. Text Alan. Why didn't you do it? Why? You're not exhibiting behavior of somebody who's nervous or under threat in any way, shape, or form. You're exhibiting behavior of somebody who is very calm and relaxed. I bring out my phone and Joe tells me to put it away and to enjoy the time with him. So I do. Because you can't say, Joe, I've got to text my boyfriend. I got to text Alan. Joe snaps his fingers and you just do exactly what he says, do you? This is fucking fiction. This is fiction right here. So I do, assuming that he finds it rude. So I tried to respect that. Of course you did. Of course you did. We finally get to this restaurant and Joe starts telling me how expensive it is and how hard it is to get a table. Maybe he's trying to flex. Maybe he's trying to impress you. People do it in different ways. Whatever. I'm a bit nervous again. Back with the nervousness. You weren't nervous when you were in his room. You weren't nervous when he was in the shower and you could have left and you could have called. But now you're nervous. You're nervous again. Because I didn't have much money. But I keep that to myself because I agreed to come and I'm not going to expect anyone to pay for my food. As we're walking inside, Joe turns to me and says, I have to tell them you're my girl. And I look at him like I didn't understand because I assumed we were just meeting YouTubers. He repeats it and just said, go along with it, then dragged me in. So we discover that this is a networking lunch, dinner, whatever you want to call it. So maybe Joe got an invite for him and a +1. So let's just say, again, she's telling the truth. It's plausible. Very plausible. Yeah, it's, me and a +1 shouldn't really take a stranger. Shouldn't really take somebody I've just met. So let's, just pretend you're my girl for this meeting. It's plausible. Not saying it's ethically right or anything like that whatsoever, but it's plausible for the potential situation that you're getting in. Once inside, he starts shaking people's hands, and I don't recognize anyone. Why would you? Why would you? You are the one who said you assumed that we're going to meet with a bunch of other YouTubers. Maybe there were other YouTubers there, but you just don't recognize them. You don't know who they are. That doesn't diminish them. You just don't recognize them. You recognize Markiplier. You flexed about it earlier in your confession. He introduced me as his girl and doesn't mention my name once. Again, weird flex. I sit down and try to see if maybe I can remember who they were, but I can't. Joe starts talking about YouTube and his account. Okay. I quickly realise, because that's what you've got in common together at the moment, so makes sense. I quickly realise he's talking to someone who manages his account, and everyone else at the table are executives or people who specifically deal with Angry Joe. A network meeting, sure. I had absolutely no business being at this lunch. He invited you, and you said yes. He invited you to a meal with other people, and you said yes. At what point did you say, I will come, but the criteria of the meeting must be that I know people, that I can involve myself in the business going on? What are you exactly expecting to get out of this meeting? You've already mentioned that Angry Joe's this massive YouTuber who you've just met and you're being whisked away in this wonderful wonderland. How suddenly does it become, oh yes, I know all this and this is what I'm here for, blah, blah, blah. If roles are reversed, and let's just say a girl did this with myself, I'd probably be like, if just starting off at YouTube, I don't know who the fuck these people are. What am I doing here? Well, I got invited to lunch by this girl and I went with her. So the question really is, what's your intention? What was your intention all along? You're the one who said, I hope we can meet up again. He invites you out for lunch. You agree. So the question is, what's your intention? Not Joe's, yours. We don't seem to have that answered at all during this. I stare at my plate the whole time, feel sorry for me, and only look up when Joe feels the need to include me in the conversation or to nudge me, feel sorry for me. I attempt to contact Alan or my boyfriend, but Joe pushed my phone away and said it's rude to do that. So I put it away so he wouldn't get mad. You're in a room full of fucking people. You're in a room full of people and you're worried that Joe's going to get mad if you use your phone. You're talking utter shit. Gonna excuse myself. I'm gonna powder my nose. Go to the bathroom. Use your phone. Just gonna step out for a quick bit of fresh air. Step out. Use your phone. But no, you're completely and utterly under the control of Angry Joe, who is managing to control you while doing plenty of networking, by the looks of it. This sounds like utter shite. And I can understand why Joe's getting his lawyer involved, because I would as well. 100%. Eventually, one of the execs asks me what my YouTube channel was and asked for my business card. I told him I don't have a business card and don't really do YouTube. I was just a Twitch partner, so you're a streamer. Okay, so you don't do YouTube, but you can say, but I'm a streamer. I don't particularly do YouTube, but I am a streamer on Twitch, and that's where I started off. So you've got commonality. You've got plenty of commonality there. Aye. He said I should start, and when I do, to let him know. That's cool. He hands me his business card. That's nice of him. Eventually, Joe gets up and says he has a party to go to. He motions for me to get up, and the executives all stand up and tell Joe bye and wave goodbye to me. Well, they sound like a very nice bunch of polite people who welcomed you to this lunch and were gracious and gave you their business card in case you wanted to start a YouTube channel. Fuck me, they're horrible. Jesus Christ. Joe then turned to me and said, wasn't that nice? Yeah, Joe. Sorry, I know that I'm inserting myself into this fantasy now because this is a fucking fantasy, but I thought it sounded lovely, Joe. We then get into a cab that little Joe is sitting in too. When in the cab, Joe's talking about us going to Whiskey's for a party, and I finally think, thank God. Even though I've had so many different occasions to contact my boyfriend, contact Alan, or simply remove myself from the situation, I didn't decide to do any of it. Thank God. Because I remember Alan saying that there was a huge party there. By this time, 5 hours have passed, and I haven't been able to use my phone once to tell Alan or my boyfriend I was okay. Yes, you fucking did, you liar. You had plenty of opportunity. Plenty. You chose not to take any. You had the opportunity when Joe was in the shower. A lot of opportunity then. You had plenty of opportunity during the lunch to step away, go to the bathroom, go outside, to make a call, or simply say to Joe, who's telling you to put your phone away and to stop, I have to text my boyfriend. You decided not to, because as I think everyone's beginning to realise, this is a fucking work of fiction. Maybe this is how you would have liked things to have gone, but I guarantee this is not how things actually went. We finally get to Whiskey's, and I realise it's much smaller than what Alan had described. I said, this is Whiskey's, and Joe replied, yeah, there's 2 of them. My heart immediately sank, knowing that we were at the one where we weren't at the one that I could finally meet up with people I knew. Why don't you leave? Why don't you just leave? Okay. Okay. Joe whisked me inside and everyone greets him and little Joe. Joe then grabs my purse and phone and hands it to someone where I can't see, and eventually I'm unable to find it for several hours. Several hours. You get into the party, Joe grabs your purse and grabs your phone, passes it to somebody, and you can't see what happens to it. And several hours go past. Jesus Christ. Joe starts to introduce me to game developers and some of his close friends. That's very nice of him. I nod my head and say hi, hand out what cards I had, and do what I needed to do. Oh, I'm sorry, but when you're speaking to this guy earlier, you say I don't have any cards. Eventually, one of the execs asks me for my asks me what my YouTube channel was and asked for my business card. I told him I didn't have a business card. Oops. Well, Daenerys kind of forgot about the business card in the previous scene, but suddenly you handed out cards. Oopsies. I had to do what I needed to do. This entire time, I'm unable to buy my own drinks, and Joe has his hands around me or on me as much as he can. Why don't you tell him to remove them? Why don't you tell him to remove his hands? Why don't you grab his hand and remove it from you? Why don't you slap his hand away if it's getting too much for you? Why don't you create separation between you? You can do these things. You are with lots of people. This is the most secure you will be. There are plenty of witnesses. You could, if you so chose, because you felt so threatened, to make a scene. That way there would be eyes on you. That way they would be witnesses. You chose not to. Let's carry on. If I'm not glued to him, he had to find me and make it known to whatever male I spoke to that he didn't want them thinking anything other than I was going home with him. Oh, wait a minute. So 1 minute you're glued to him, and then the next minute you've got the freedom to go around and speak to people. And then Joe goes to look for you and says, hi there. Please be aware that I am going to have coitus with this woman tonight because we are together. You are fucking delusional. Delusional. Unreal. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This is a man's life. A man's fucking life. I drink some. So you drink alcohol. So threatened, but you're drinking alcohol. But eventually hand my drinks off whenever Joe wasn't looking. Oh, so threatened. You're making, there is nothing here, nothing whatsoever here that says that you're in any threat or in an uncomfortable position. You're making no actions to remove yourself from it. You're making no actions at any point to contact anybody else. This is bullshit. Try to eventually hand my drink off whenever Joe wasn't looking, and would try to find my stuff when Joe would go to the bathroom. I eventually grabbed my phone. Oh, you just found your phone out of nowhere. That's great. And went outside. Sent a text to Alan asking him to help, then called my boyfriend. My boyfriend was clearly upset because I hadn't talked to him for 7 or 8 hours. Maybe now we're getting a little glimmer of the truth. Maybe now we're beginning to get a little bit of the jigsaw puzzle. You get whisked away. You, even in your own fantasy novel, don't make any attempt to leave the situation, remove yourself from the situation, or contact anyone when you have the opportunity to do so. And when you call your boyfriend after being AWOL for 7 or 8 hours, he's pissed off. Oh! My girlfriend hasn't contacted me for 7 or 8 hours after these things. I hope she's okay. Oh, dear God. I tell him what was happening, and he couldn't believe I was talking about the Angry Joe. Now, I bet he couldn't believe what was happening. I tell him how weird he is being, but all of a sudden, Joe spun me around and started interrogating me about who I was talking to. Interrogating you. Is Joe just suddenly become a member of the fucking Gestapo? Did he ever sat down in a torture chair, spun me around and interrogated me? This sort of hyperbolic language is necessary for your story because your story is full of shit. It is a story. It's a work of fiction. I'm sure the locations are correct. I'm sure the geography of what happened is correct. But the manner in what happened? No, I think one doth create a fictional tale. I tell him how weird he is being, but all of a sudden... I lie and... Wait. He asked me who I'm talking to. I lie and say Alan. You're threatened. You're being interrogated. You even say right up here, I don't want to be the girl that says, hey, are you trying to sleep with me? I have a boyfriend, you know. But you have an opportunity again to tell him that you have a boyfriend, and you do not. You do not. Fuck me. He starts getting angry and said, your boyfriend. Yes, I lie and say no. I lie and I lie. Maybe we are getting some of the truth now. I lie and I lie. Maybe you lied to your boyfriend about why you were AWOL for 7 or 8 hours. Maybe you lied about the hotel room. Maybe you lied about the taxi rides. Maybe you lied about the gluing to him, even though you were clearly able to go around and network with other people. Maybe you lied about the business cards, which you said you didn't have, but then in the next scene you did have because you were dishing them out. There seems to be a lot of lies here. Alan is drunk, so I called him because I can tell Joe is drunk and pissed. Joe then asked me what Alan's Twitter handle is to prove he is not only real, but is at PAX East. I tell him. He looks it up. Then says whatever and tells me to come inside when he turns away and walks in too. You don't have to. You don't have to come inside with him. You can contact your boyfriend again. You can contact Alan. You could contact the fucking police for all I give a shit. He's not the boss of you. He's not the controller of you. And yet you seem to be doing everything at his beck and call. Jesus Christ. My boyfriend tells me to leave, and I tell him my purse is still inside, and I need money to get a cab. You managed to grab your phone. You just managed to grab your phone, but your purse is still AWOL. Fuck off. You are so full of shit, it's unbelievable. He grabbed my phone and purse, and somebody took it away somewhere, but I grabbed my phone after several hours. I mean, the purse wasn't there. That was somewhere fucking else, but I just happened to grab it out of fucking thin fucking air. Maybe you had your phone on you the whole time. Maybe your boyfriend was texting you or calling you and you were ignoring his calls because you were out having a good time with Joe and networking. Just ideas as well that I have, possibly. This is ridiculous. I go to walk inside and had 2 people I met before stop me, along with Joe. Joe starts telling me it's not safe to go back to the Airbnb with Alan because Alan is drunk and he might grape me. Hey girl, I've never met before until yesterday. Don't go back to the Airbnb with your friend who you know because he might grape you. This story is so fantastically ridiculous. I don't know what part is true. Well, the only part that I think is absolutely true is that your boyfriend was pissed off with you when you eventually called him. That's the only part I actually truly believe. And the text messages between you where Joe is absolutely fine in them. I say, no way, he's my friend, and I just want to make sure he gets inside okay. Joe starts to say, what kind of a man needs help? If he can't handle his alcohol, he doesn't deserve to drink any. The 2 people agree and repeat I'd be much better off staying with Joe. I repeat again, I need to get back and that friends check on other friends. Just like he's doing for me now. A lie, but I can tell he's furious. Another lie by you to go with the other lies that you've said. You seem to be somebody who lies very quickly and very easily. When you have plenty of opportunity to contact your friends or to leave the situation, you seem very open to lying. Maybe you're lying right now. Eventually, the 2 people went inside and Joe pulled me off to the side, out of sight from the bouncer. It's very coincidental. Everyone at the bar pushed me against a wall and asked me what my idea was. Oh dear, this is getting ridiculous. I replied I had no idea what he meant, and he replied, you know better than every other girl. I thought you were better than that. I look at him in shock, and he says, you know better than every other girl who uses me to get contacts and to grow their platform. I immediately deny all of this and tell him I'll give every business card back. So you've acquired a few business cards in your networking when you were handing out your business cards, the business cards which you don't have. And say exactly what I thought, that's what I thought we were supposed to do. But wait a minute, you said earlier you have no business to be here. But now you're saying you were here to network. That was what you thought you were here for. Another contradiction. To go with the self-confessed at least 3 lies. Jesus Christ. He shakes his head during my explanation and says, nope, you're just like them all. As if he's trying to make me feel bad for something I didn't do. I'm not sure what you did do because I think this is all fictional. He then said, after I do all this for you, you meet my friends, I take you to dinner, and then she passive-aggressively puts in, that YouTube paid for. I pay for everything, and you leave me hanging. The least you can do is come back with me. So you think that Angry Joe says, I bought you a meal, I deserve to fuck you. That is what he says, according to you. I bought you a meal, I paid for a meal for you and some drinks, I deserve to fuck you. Jesus Christ. I immediately say, I can't and have to go. You could have said, are you trying to sleep with me? Because I have a boyfriend, don't you know? Oh, never mind. He then reminds me not to tell anyone because it would ruin his reputation and mine as well. So 1 minute he's saying, oi, you're just like every other girl. You're just using me for my networking, getting your fucking business cards. I bought you lunch and drinks. I deserve to fuck you. But don't tell anyone because it'll ruin your reputation and mine. Go fuck out of here. This is ridiculous. Jesus Christ, you should have been a fucking lawyer. Some people come outside and asked if we were okay, and I say yes, and run inside to grab my purse. Run inside to grab your purse? I thought you didn't know where your purse was. You didn't know where your purse was. You said for several hours. I'm unable to find it for several hours, but you just found your phone, and then you just find your fucking purse now. Bullshit. Joe then offers to pay for my cab, to which I say no thanks because I didn't want him knowing where I was staying at all. Well, he knows that you're staying at the Airbnb, but no matter. Okay. He then replied, that's surprising, and walked back into the bar. I walk 4 to 5 blocks away and order my own cab so he can't see me cry. I eventually get back to my Airbnb where Alan was and just cry and tell him everything I told you. Alan was pissed, but I told him not to say or do anything because I literally had no proof. Exactly. You have no proof whatsoever of any impropriety at all. None. And by your own statement, you have had plenty of times to remove yourself from the situation, which you did not do. And had plenty of times to contact both your boyfriend and Alan. Remember, Alan, who you were kidnapped by Joe from, and did not. And by the sounds of it, because you don't mention at all, neither did they contact you. They were frantic. I had loads of messages on my phone from Alan wondering where I was and if I was okay. None. And he said, no proof that he did or said any of that. I then tweet about what happened without naming him and ended up leaving PAX East a day early because I was afraid to see him again. I bet you were. I end up getting an Instagram message from a developer I met at Whiskey's who you networked with, and he tells me that he now realizes what happened. It's here, if you want to read through it. It's top 4% Overwatch Matt, according to this Instagram. So they passed their details on. She did plenty of networking then. Plenty of networking. He tells me now that realised what had happened at the time. He didn't see it for what he was, maybe because it wasn't that. And that I was right. No one would believe me because I had no proof. Yes, you have no proof, nor does this in any way, shape or form substantiate anything. I kept this person anonymous as well as I did Alan. Well, you just said it's 4% Matt. I don't know if, whatever. I kept this person anonymous just like Alan unless they came forward. But I know I will most likely be attacked for even posting this. Yes, because it's full of fucking holes and things that don't make any sense. And as Judge Judy would say, when it doesn't make sense, it's not true. And you are fucking with somebody's life. You're fucking with somebody's life. Let's take it at its worst case scenario. Joe wanted to screw you. He wanted to screw you. He's attracted to you. He took you out. He wanted to show off. He did it in a gratuitous way, in a crass way. Where is the no at any point in this? Where is the I've got a boyfriend at any point in this? It's nowhere. Nowhere at all. You're fucking with somebody's life and livelihood. The screen caps are there. Shannon goes into, I'm working for with an esports org before I notified the owner, to which I also won't name. They offered to back me and support me as much as they could, as somebody who doesn't have any proof. And I told them how long ago it happened and the proof I had. You've got no proof. No proof. They too agreed that I would end up getting dragged. Yes, because this comes across as a fabrication. Because there are holes everywhere. The only thing, what's even worse, is you admit at least 3 times, I might have missed one, but at least 3 times that you're a liar in this. That you're a liar. You lied to Joe at least 3 times. And by your own admission, once a fucking again have plenty of time to leave the situation and contact people, and you don't do either. So yes, you're going to get dragged because it makes no sense. Believe women, fuck off. Believe proof, believe evidence. And stop using Twitter as your fake courts because you've got nothing. Stop trying to cancel people because you've got nothing, but you're just a sick, twisted individual that wants to tear people down and apart. Maybe. And this is... Again, there's no proof here, but I'm just offering something up. Maybe you were using Joe. Maybe you were using the opportunity to network. Maybe you were getting chummy with others at the party when Joe thought you were his date. And then he confronted you and said, what's going on? Maybe that happened. Who fucking knows? All I know is this is a fucking work of fiction. Nothing else has come of it, nor should it. And while I tweet every once in a while warning people, I have been way too scared to come forward. I understand my proof relies on a few DMs between Joe and I. There's no proof at all. You contacted him. You said, I'll come to your panel maybe. I hope we meet up again. He says, oh yes, I remember you. Hopefully the panel will go okay, but it'll probably be crap. If it does, because you've said you'd like to meet up again, you can cheer me up. For sure, you agree. He then asks you to see what? That's the panel one, isn't it? Then he asks you out for dinner, and you agree. Normal actions of courtship, maybe. At worst case, and we're operating off the assumption that Joe's interested in you. It's just a guy fucking asking a girl out. How do you think we get fucking babies in this world? By people just standing apart? No, somebody's got to make a fucking move. Somebody's got to see what the situation is. Somebody's got to see what the fucking score is. Are you interested? Well, you're coming along. You're not complaining at any part. Jesus Christ. I invited you in the shower. You didn't come in. You didn't leave. You can read this next. I'll leave this here for you to read if you want to read it. But she's just given like her extras. Trying to play victim. I think this is utterly disgusting. Joe, I stand with you. I stand with you, and I absolutely agree that you should get your solicitors on this. There's not a scrap of evidence, not a shred of evidence whatsoever here at all. Nothing. And this person is trying to end somebody's fucking career. Disgrace. Fucking disgrace. Sorry, I know we've gone on over an hour, but I need to say this because this culture has got to end. Just because you got your feelings hurt by a fucking person doesn't mean you've got the right to try and destroy their life. Fucking pathetic. I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. I'm probably now going to take the rest of the day until the 6 o'clock stream with Gary. And I'll do the comic video tomorrow. You take care. Bye for now.